Knights Templar, probably the greatest asset that they possessed was their navigation ability.
Right.
They during the Crusades possessed the greatest seagoing knowledge of any facet, including the Muslims and the Moors around the world.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed them to ship hundreds of pilgrims, soldiers, and their wares and their supplies across the Mediterranean to Jerusalem at a time when the shipbuilding was archaic at the best.
Right. And I guess that this also, I mean, many people today do go back and track the Knights Templar, see that because of their ability in regards to trading and so forth, managed to become very wealthy, meaning that they were the first ones who actually set up the what kind of we could compare with the modern banking system today. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And it's interesting that Switzerland, which is known for its banking, has virtually the reverse Templar flag.
There you go.
As its national symbol.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, many people, tie this back to the World Bank, of course. I mean, the World Economic Forum is based out of Davos in Switzerland. So, I mean, it's there's so much symbolism today that still, resonates, so to speak, with what has been going on. Tell us a little bit, if you will, about the symbol of the balanced cross, as it were, because this is, this is not the Christian cross. This is a different one. What does it represent or mean to you?
Well, the balanced cross, a number of people apply a variety of crosses. What you have to look at is not the symbolism. It's not the Christian cross, although it has the red and white, and it's representative of the Templar colors. But you have to look further at the application of the crosses. It's really the cross of Lorraine that is the most important symbol.
The double cross.
The double cross. And the cross of Lorraine really speaks to one of these major holy bloodline families that was able to, through certain manipulations and through crossbreedings, and when I say crossbreedings, we're talking about centuries of strategic intermarriages, almost cloning, to maintain and to strengthen the Holy Family bloodline, the DNA.
What are they up to? What are they trying to do here?
I don't think they're up to anything. It's not a matter of greed, but it's a matter of purity. It's a matter of truth. What they're trying to do is they're trying to maintain for when that time that we're really talking about, and I don't want to get into this as being so serious, the second coming of Jesus Christ, of Jesus. Now, I consider Jesus to be a great prophet, but in Christian Masonry, you venerate the teachings of Jesus, not the
person itself.
The person itself. I was going to say not beyond the person.
Okay.
I consider Jesus, as Muslims do, for him to be a holy prophet. Nothing more, nothing less. He was a great man.
But why is it so important then for his return?
Well, look at what's happening around the world right now. We need leadership.
Do we? Aren't we? It feels to me a little bit like we're having, too many leaders, too many voices out there screaming to.
Well, do you really consider them to be leaders? That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Well, right.
We need leadership. We need something that can pull together all of the world. And what better way than to identify that member to be part of the Holy Bloodline, to be a direct descendant of Jesus Christ.
I mean, is this of interest to, how should I put it, the man on the street? I mean, this seems to be a very kind of small circle of, again, very elite bloodlines already that seems to be very interested in this particular area. don't you think?
It is, but let me put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
You really need the elite bloodlines to recognize their leader. There are so many so-called elite bloodlines out there doing so many things in the name of God that are atrocious.
Right.
All the world wars that we've had, all the major skirmishes, all the atrocities that have been committed over the last 2,000 years, and I hate to say it, the Vatican has been involved in a lot of these, have been done in the name of God.
Right.
We really need a leader that speaks, that has the ability to bring all these factions together, that speaks with one voice, voice of God, and whether it's the supreme being, whether it's nature, whether it's a pagan god, whether it's a spiritual god, all of those things, whether it's just a higher energy, all of those things. We need a leader that is, through his bloodline, is able to achieve this higher level of consciousness and morality and loyalty and some semblance of reasonableness around the world.
So you're saying that normals, quote unquote, people today aren't capable of pulling this off and living in this way, or what? I mean, again, I'm having a little bit of difficulty just understanding why this person or this descendant of a specific bloodlines would be so important in this case. I see today that it's about people individually waking up and taking responsibility for their own lives and not entrusting in a leader. That's how I see it.
I agree with you absolutely. I believe that everybody has the ability to discern, to reason their own way of life, their own direction, and to discern between and to reason between good and evil. But there are certain factions out there, and I hate to say it, these factions are a lot of the interbred bloodlines that really need a leader. Unfortunately, they're controlling the actions around the world. They really need a leader that brings them together.
Well, okay, wait a minute, pause that right there, because this is interesting then. Okay, so what you're saying is that potentially here is we have a situation where we have a lot of wealthy, rich people within the so-called bloodlines that are having their own interest, meaning that to some extent they are financially behind a lot of the world wars because they have the wealth to do this, but they're doing this for their own particular reason, and they themselves might want to sit on the throne, so to speak, of the world at the end of the day. This is like a big, this is a game in a way, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a world game of chess. And what you're finding is that really history is repeating itself. When Godfrey de Bouillon, as a Grand Master of the Knights Templar, that when they took Jerusalem, the Holy Lands, for the first time, he was offered the kingship of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
He had the judgment, the knowledge, the wisdom not to assume that position. He became the guardian and protector of Jerusalem. Now, his brother, after Godfrey died, he wasn't so upright and standing. He took the kingship for his own purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need to do is we need to be able to verify that somebody possesses this strain to the point that he's able to bring together all of these factions, these bloodline factions. Factions that believe that they have superiority for whatever reason over the rest of us.
Right. So this
It's not the little guy like you and I that I'm worried about. It's the ones that manipulate and control the wars. And I hate to get into the politics that are happening now within the United States, but I think that's a fine example in terms of self-serving prophecy.
But I mean, some people would say and would argue, I guess, that, for example, when you are part of the Knights Templar, you're actually helping to facilitate this kind of situation. I mean, to a certain extent, I understand it, because if we look at it this way, that what is going on today, for instance, in regards to the U.S. and Iraq, some people see that as a continuation of all the crusades that has been going on, you know?
Certainly. But I have to point out to you right now that the Knights Templar that I'm involved in, the Masonic organizations, there may be individuals that have some influence outside the organization in terms of some of these activities, but these modern-day organizations are nothing more than fraternities or brotherhoods. I present all the information that I'm discovering to them. All I do is get blank faces.
Really?
Yeah, really. They love to hear this because they love to feel that they are part of ancient ritual that has been perpetuated, but they have no inkling. And don't get me wrong, they're the finest group of gentlemen that I've ever met, from a moral point of view, from an upstanding point of view, from a business point of view, but there's nothing more. Now there may be some individuals within the organizations at the highest levels that are using those organizations for their own benefit.
Right.
But for the most part, these are just brotherhoods and fraternities. They have lost all of their purpose, other than getting together and supporting one another. Now they're fine organizations, and they turn good men into better men, and they help individuals along, and all of those things. But I keep on telling people that I know more secrets from the fraternities that I belong to in university than I do belonging to the modern day organizations that I belong to. Now, in my situation, I always knew that I was going to be part of the Masonic Order.
Why?
That it was part of my family. That it was so entrenched into me. That it was part of my family. But if you ask me if I have two sons, whether they will continue, I really don't think so, because I think the organization is dying out. The organization, the Templar organization that I belong to, the average age must be about 80 years old.
William, back a little bit more away from the phone, if you will.
Certainly.
So what is happening here then is the interest in the organization diminishing, and why is that, do you think? I mean, to one level, then I guess that many people looking from outside and in just see this kind of as I do, is a bunch of old men doing nothing in particular, and if not that is the case, then probably the case is that they're behind some nefarious activity, meaning that they themselves are involved actively in some kind of conspiracy. That's I guess how the main consensus is. What do you think about it?
No, on the most part, what the organizations are irrelevant in today's society. Younger fellows would rather be with their families, working on their business, and taking their kids to soccer.
Right.
These organizations, from my point of view, are irrelevant in today's society.
And
now, that's not to say that there may be some individuals within the society. When the societies are weak and the memberships are falling greatly, the death rate is every year surprises me. That way of life is changing. The Masonic organizations, they really saw their strength coming out of the First and Second World Wars. It provided a bonding. It provided a brotherhood for the fellows that were coming back from the war.
Well, exactly, because I mean, many orders started out as a branch of the military. It was a kind of an extension of that, and
exactly.
And of course there are wars today. So that's not what I'm saying, but there aren't those kind of large wars, especially not in regards to Europe. I mean, Britain, of course, is involved in the war again in Iraq, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I mean,
but what's really happening now? What's really happening is that there is a little bit of a resurgence, and it's because of Dan Brown's book. It's because of the two movies, National Treasure.
Right.
I get more inquiries from fellow members in terms of really what is Dan Brown